Video is to go through the RA guidance document with you. Basically everything I'm saying is going to be covered in the RA guidance document, and this is everything you need to know. This is the most important guidance on how to conduct this research, which will be going on for a year or possibly longer than that. Okay, so there's 4 parts to conducting the research. The most important part at the moment is conducting interviews and observations. So this is a project that is looking only at Tibetans living in exile, and we're looking at Tibetans living in exile who have gone through some kind of conflict resolution process, whether they went to a mediation at the settlement officer, camp leader, group leader, women's commission, court, panchayat, lok adalat, in the Indian system or Nepali or Bhutanese systems, anything that, including going to the Dalai Lama's office for help in relation to their rights, their human rights. So anything that relates to life, whether it's social, economic rights, education, job, housing, shelter, health, or if it's a conflict, violence, discrimination, civil and political rights, and social and economic rights. So anything that somebody has gone through or participated in a mediation or a trial to do with any kind of problem or dispute. And it lists all of the things, and it can be basically any kind of conflict resolution process. Even a mediation in a police station also would be covered if that's what the person went through. It's important that these kind of occurrences, when you find people to interview, have to have happened. If you're not actually watching a mediation, it has to have happened at least within the last 3 years or so, approximately. Could be a little bit more, but not too much more, because people tend to forget, and we're asking them a lot of specific questions about their experience. So it's important that their experience shouldn't be much more than 3 years. So how do you find people? Well, when I was in Dharamsala and elsewhere, there were some of the research assistants who went door to door asking people if they've had an experience ever in a mediation, in a settlement office, with a welfare office, with a settlement officer, etc. You can also ask mediators if you know anyone. If you can approach the settlement officer or the camp leader or group leader in a settlement, and ask them for lists of people who came to them and had their conflicts resolved. You can go to the welfare office and see the people waiting outside to have their cases heard, to have their problems dealt with. Or even in of course, the Central Tibetan Authority, if they went through the Tibetan court system, of course that is covered. So you can ask people outside if you can talk to them after they have their process. To interview them afterwards, of course. Anytime you meet anyone, you will have with you always, I've sent it to you in the RA pack in your email, a copy of my business card and the document that says that you are working for me, the research assistant confirmation, and there's an introduction page if they would like to read it, which explains about me, my work, and the research that we are conducting together. You can also do what's called general interviews, which are interviews with mediators, or in case you happen to meet any lawyers who are working with the Tibetan community, you can interview them. That's counted as an interview. As long as they have general experience with the Tibetan community, you can talk to them about cases. You ask them the very same questions in the interview document, which I also sent you. But you have to ask them about, when they answer each of the questions, ask them to tell you details of specific cases, not to answer generally. Any questions that you have there, ask them to give you examples from specific cases that they worked in. Okay, now, that's one thing, which is interviewing. The second thing is observing media. So that's one job, is interviewing people. And by the way, you can interview anybody, not just the person that went for help. You can interview anybody who spoke during a mediation or trial. So, could be the mediator, could be if somebody came with their mother or their uncle or a village elder, somebody who helped them, to represent them. Could be also a lawyer, but most people, or many, wouldn't go to a lawyer, but also if those that do go, you can interview the lawyers, but you can interview any family member, as long as the person spoke also at this mediation or conflict resolution procedure. It's very important. One of the rules of doing the interviews, though, is that when you interview anyone, you have to interview them alone. Nobody else should be in the room. If you have to take the person out, buy them a coffee somewhere, send me the receipt from the interview, with your interview, scan it and email it to me, and I will reimburse you for any expenses related to interviewing them, having to take them out, etc., to interview them alone. The reason is because evidence shows in research that even if you feel comfortable and you feel free to speak, people don't speak totally freely if somebody else is listening, even if they think that they do. So it's very important to interview people alone. Do all that you can. Tell them that you will not be paid fully, that there's a problem with the data, which there is if other people are listening in on the interview. If you have no choice, it's that or nothing, then fair enough. But otherwise, do your best. Okay, so that's the first thing is interviewing. Second thing is observing. If you have a chance, you meet a settlement officer, group leader, or a judge somewhere that says, yes, you can come and watch some cases. What you do when you observe is two things. Number one, you will record. By the way, everything is recorded, and as you know, I'm mailing to everybody special voice recorders that you use, which you will later be able to upload onto a computer and send them to me so that I can pay you for them. So you will record all your interviews, and you will record all your observations. So if you go to a mediation or a court, you take your recorder, you will turn it on, and I'll talk to you soon how to use the recorder. Leave it in a place as close as possible to the people speaking. You then go to the corner of the room. You shouldn't be really seen. People shouldn't be aware of you. Try your best to be as small as possible, because again, that can disturb the free behavior of people. And in addition to you recording and putting the recorder next to the people, where you sit in the corner of the room, you will write notes during your observation. You basically have to write every word that you hear. You don't give a summary or any kind of summary or your interpretation about what is going on, but you do exactly as follows. You take a blank paper. You have to take with you on all your interviews or observations, blank paper and pen, and you write judge or mediator or whoever the person is. Yes, whatever they say. If they say to the person, yes, how can I help you? What is the problem? You will write mediator. Yes, how can I help you? What is the problem? You can write it in Tibetan, no problem, but I will need it after to be translated and written or typed in English. So you will be sitting there and writing out everything that you hear. I am able to pay 2 people to do observations at the same time. So if you can come with a colleague, I can pay them also separately for doing the same thing. And the reason is because people speak very quickly, so it's hard to get everything. But do your very best to write down everything that you hear. If somebody's crying, you write it down. If somebody's laughing, you write it down. But especially all of the words that everybody says, whoever speaks in the room of the mediation or if it's a trial of the trial. So that's the second job. Observation. The first is interviewing of people who spoke at mediations or trials. Others is observations. The third is translating or transcribing. That's quite simple, and there's information there. Very important, because there's a few rules that you need to follow. You need to keep this RA guidance document with you and reread it before each time you go to do interviews. You're probably not going to be interviewing people every day, so you may forget some things. So as I said, whenever you go out to an interview or to an observation, very, very important, you take the recorder. If you don't record, I cannot pay you. It's very important also, super important, that you buy batteries, extra set of batteries, because it's happened that people have traveled a far way to do some interview. They get there, they try to use the recorder, and all of a sudden the recorder is not working and they don't have batteries, new ones. And so all their time is lost. The person might not be available again to be interviewed, and it's really a big, big shame. So make sure that you have an extra set of batteries with you. Again, you can buy them and send the receipt with your interview. Any directly related expenses to your interviews or your observations, I can reimburse you for. So you will send me the receipt of your batteries, and I will add that to your payment check at the end of the month with payment for the interviews or the observations. So you keep extra batteries, you take paper, pen, copy of my business card, copy of the introduction to the study, and the fact that you're working for me, everything I sent you in the RA pack email. Okay, so when you meet people and you want to interview them, or you want to talk to, allow them to, tell them to let you observe their mediation or their trial, what do you say? How do you get people to agree? People may not want to. You may be concerned about it, and it is something not so easy. But what we found over doing many hundreds of interviews, I'm writing another book on India after 5 years of research there, is if you say these 3 points, and it's on the second page of the RA guidance document, if you say these 3 points, it gives you the best chance to get people to say, okay. These are the 3 points. It's written here. You are working for me, conducting independent research with Tibetan community in exile, to hear people's views in order to improve the systems, which is what we are doing, and to improve the systems and the mediations that are dealing with their problems and their conflicts, any problems that they have in their life, health, housing, food, water, education, etc. And that's the first point, that you're working for me, and we're getting hundreds of people's views all over South Asia, Tibetans' views about any difficulties that they had, or just generally their experiences. Maybe everybody had a great experience in these conflict resolution mechanisms or mediation, any place that they went to ask for help and had a mediator help in a problem. That's number 1. Number 2, you tell them that this will benefit them by taking part. That anything that they say is completely confidential and anonymous. Their name will never be used. But what they say will be taken very seriously. I am presenting this report of all of these many hundreds of people to the United Nations, to local governments, to court bodies, and the United Nations. It's the United Nations Development Program, and these are, and also other people in New York and in Britain and other countries to help make a change. You can tell them I've spoken with many of the members, secretaries in the Central Tibetan Administration several weeks back, and also others who felt that this research could make a difference and could, bring out some things that are not known. Because very often these kind of voices are silenced. People don't hear about them. You just suffer in silence. And so what I would like to do is to allow people anonymously to get their voices out, get them heard as much as I can, and through the mechanisms that I have to get the voices out. And then you just tell them that you need to speak to them just for a few minutes. If they ask you how long, it shouldn't be much more than half an hour. You can tell them 20 minutes. If you say it's going to be a long time, people will say, no, I don't have time. But what we found after, again, hundreds of interviews in other projects is once people start talking, they see that it really is helpful for them to have their voice heard. And especially because their name will never be used, so people can speak freely. So the aim is to get everybody to be interviewed, especially, and you see that in the payment agreement, try to get more than one person in a case. If one person went, try to interview that person, plus the settlement officer, plus anybody who came with them who spoke, for example. And if you get at least 3 people in one case, and even if a few RAs, research assistants, send me interviews of a few people in the same case, I can still pay you. There are bonuses that we pay on top of the payment for the interviews. We pay extra amounts, which is written there, quite a bit more, because we try to get interviews with all people involved in every case. Okay, so there's 3 main instructions for conducting the interviews. One, I told you, try to interview somebody alone, that other people shouldn't be around. The second, besides the person alone, there's 2 main rules that you must follow. If you follow them, you will not have trouble. If you don't follow them, the university may not accept totally your interview, and they will reduce the payment for the interview because it will be deemed not complete. And of course, all the interviews that you send me in Tibetan are translated by 2 or 3 different people for accuracy, to check all the questions were asked, etc. So here are the 2 rules. Number 1, you must ask every single question on the question sheets. It's long, but the interviews are well paid, and they take into account the fact that it's many questions. You tell the people at the beginning of the interview that you will be as quick as you can, but it's very important that they finish the interview, because otherwise the data will be incomplete. It will give an incomplete picture. So you must ask all the questions. Secondly, you must ask the questions in the same order. Even if you think that somebody answered a question already and you see the question marked later, you must ask the question that's written on the interview page. So every question you must ask, you ask the next question. Every question generally has a sub-question or a few sub-questions. You just do it in order. Ask the first question, let them answer you, and then you can ask the second sub-question, the third sub-question. Don't ask one question until I've answered the one before. You just go in order and ask every single question. That's the first rule. The second rule, very, 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 very important. After every answer, virtually every answer that you get from somebody, like I asked somebody, do you feel that human rights has helped you directly in your life or not helped you? And the person will say, well, yes, I think it has helped me a little bit, generally, but, maybe not specifically. For example, let's say they say that. What you have to answer what you have to say in response to their answer to you is, and what makes you understand this? What makes you believe this? Those two phrases, or even just one. What makes you believe this? Why do you feel this way? What makes you feel this way? That is very important, because that gives much broader understanding of why people believe things they do, why they feel the way they do, why they have certain attitudes. So those are the two rules that are critical. Number one, ask every question and sub-question in order. Don't skip out any questions, even if you think they answered already. They may answer something differently. Number one. Number two, after every answer that you get, you ask the person, what makes you believe this? What makes you feel this way? Again, everything I'm telling you is on this RA guidance document. Okay. About the voice recorder, what to do. If somebody feels uncomfortable, you have to explain to them that this is completely standard practice in social science research. Thousands of interviews are conducted in this way. And by recording, first of all, their name is never going to be used. They can give their first name. It's never going to be used. You give the data. It's confidential. What you record is only between you and me. And all the data stays with me. I don't even hand it over to the university. I do all the analysis, and I keep it only on my computer, which is private. Nobody else has access to it. And under our agreement, your work agreement with me, you have been bound to not discuss this, any information that you get in conducting the interviews or observations or translations with anybody else. So what they say really will be held private. So you tell them that with the voice recorder, it's standard. Thousands of people, everybody is interviewed with recorders, because that way you can get exactly and not misinterpret what they say. If you have to write furiously when they answer questions, you may write something wrong. You may not get the meaning that the people are talking about. And so it's very, very important to record the voice recorder. The other thing is, when you interview someone, you take the voice recorder and you turn it on and you put it directly next to them. When you turn it on, you press this red button, if it's the Philips recorder, and you put it next to them and then leave it. And try not to touch it. Try not to look at it, because you don't want them to think about it. You want them to speak freely. Just every so often, have a look with your eye, but try not to show that you're doing it. Look over and check that the red light is on. The red light is on, it means that the recorder is recording. And so that's what you do. And again, same thing with the observation. You just put the red recorder, turn it on as close as possible to the people speaking, and then just check from time to time, look over to see that it's on. It's very important that you have what's known as rapport, relationship with the people you're interviewing. So you nod to them when they're talking. Smile. Of course, I'm sure that you're all extremely polite and it's no problem, but you want the person to know that you care and you empathize with what they're feeling and what they're going through. Whatever they tell you, Never make any judgments. Everybody's opinion is valid. Never be shocked. Don't look shocked. They may tell you something very terrible. Try to cover any shock. If they ask you, what is your opinion? You tell them, it is not important. You don't have an opinion. What is important is what they say, because they're going to look at you as an authority. So just be very neutral. And again, if you feel that there are any questions that I am not asking on the question sheet that should be asked, send me an email, because it's important. And I can, I have many research assistants now all over South Asia. I can change the questions if there's really something that should be asked. And also, if there's some question that you think is not good, not relevant, or problematic, let me know. Send me an email. Okay. Observations. How do you find out when mediations or trials are happening? Well, you can go, if it's a court, you can go to the court, get the list of the cases. You can just show up every day, and you can wait to talk to the people that are going to be heard. For example, if you're in Dharamsala, but also if you're near any regional Tibetan courts, or if you are in a Tibetan settlement camp, you ask the group leader when they have some hearings, or you can ask the welfare officer, the settlement officer, and find out when cases will be heard, because you can cover any subject. So you walk around any of these places and ask all people who are going to have their case heard if you could observe their case. You'd have to also ask the mediator or the NGO, whoever's doing the mediation, and also if you can interview the people afterwards. Two things. If you need for me to phone any mediator or court or anybody to talk about myself and the work that we're doing, no problem. Send me an email, and I can phone anywhere, anytime. No problem at all. Okay. I told you that you must take written notes when you do the observations, and you write down everything. Okay. The voice recorder and how you use it. If you're talking about the Philips recorder, every recorder has different instructions. The one I'm sending generally is the Philips recorder. It's very easy. There are I don't have it here, but there are 4 buttons. You will basically be using the 2 buttons on the right. One is a red button, one is a black button. Basically, to turn it on to start recording, press the red button on the right. And you put it down and it'll be a red light. It means it's recording. If in the middle of an interview the person has a phone call or has to go to the bathroom or something, you want to pause the recording. You press the same red button on the recorder, and then the red light will flash. That means it's not recording, it's just on pause. When the person comes back and can talk to you again, you press again the same red button. So you're only using the red button. Only at the end of the interview, you press the black button underneath to stop. If you forget, or if you make a mistake and you press the black button when you want to pause, it's okay, it's not terrible. You'll press the red button again to start. All it means is that when you send me the interview recording, it's not going to be in one file, one voice file. You're going to send me 2, or however many times you stop. So try to just only press the red button. Even when the machine is off, you want to turn the machine on, again, you can just press the red button and it will turn on. Now, the instructions of the voice recorders are available for everybody, actually in the voice recorder itself. What you do is it comes with a pen drive, and you will plug the pen drive cord into the voice recorder and plug it into your computer. You will then see on your screen the folder for the voice recorder. At the end of the, and in the folder there are 2 subfolders. One says, I think, files. One says voice. The one that says voice includes all of your recordings that you made. So what you will do is you will go into the voice subfolder and you will cut all of the voice recordings that you made, and then you will take them and paste them onto your desktop, onto your own computer. If I were you, I would make a folder on your computer to say, Tibetan research or Prof Relis research or whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, you will cut and paste, not copy, cut all of the voice recordings from your recorder and paste them onto your computer. So that your voice recorder, when you're at the end of every day, will be empty. Don't leave any recordings in the recorder. In case by accident, I hope you don't lose any recorder. They cost a lot of money. But if you lose the recorder, you also lost your work, and I can't pay you. I can only pay you for what I receive. So you need to empty your recorder every night. Copy the voice files onto your own computer. If you want the instructions of how to use the recorder, when you plug in your voice recorder, there will be two main folders. I told you one is voice, which is whatever you recorded. The other one I think says files. Open that and you'll see many subfolders. Choose EN for English. When you open that, that is the manual of how you use the voice recorder in English. Okay, so you've pasted all the voice recordings, all the interviews that you've done for me onto your computer. Then what do? How do you send them to me? You send them to me for free through this free internet website. It's listed here. It's called www.yousendit.com. Go there, join for free. You will join and you want to have a single user or single file user. It's the free one. They will send you an OK to your email. You need to open your email that you get from them, click on the link to validate it, and that's it. And now you can use their service. You will then go back to yousendit.com, and it says, who do you want to send your file to? You put in my email address, tamararelis.tibet@gmail.com. Then it says, choose a file, and you will choose, you have to do it one by one for every voice recording that you have recorded, that you have now on your computer, and then you press send, and that's it. It could take a long time. It depends how quickly your internet connection is. But that's all you do, and it's free. Once you send it to me, I will get a notice of it on my email, and I will tell you, thank you very much, I received it, and I will include it for payment. And all the interviews that you send me and observations are then translated and checked that they're full, complete, you've asked all the questions, you've asked what makes you feel this way after the person answers, and then you will be paid in full. I send you a local check. I have bank accounts in all of the countries, and I send you through my university a local check at the end of every month for whatever work you send in to me. So you can do as many interviews or as little as you like, or many observations or as little. Even if you have 2 days a month that you can do, that will be fine. I'm sending voice recorders to different areas. Each recorder needs generally to be shared between 2 or 3 people, so you figure out what days you're available. I think that's everything. The transcribing instructions are also in here, and they need to be followed exactly. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate. I'm sorry if I'm a little slow in responding. I have so many responsibilities at my university, but this is a very serious project, and it's going to be presented to many, many people, and I really will be doing something very good, even in a small way, or could be even in a large way, to make a change and help many people in the community. Thank you very much.